happened to more than just. So it's happened to a few of them thus far.
Yeah,
then.
well, I didn't do like a huge deep dive on it. Really, the truth of the matter is, I saw a tweet.
This is important.
What is it?
Coles.
Oh no, that was a receipt.
Okay, give me that.
That's a receipt from.
Put my gum here.
Yeah, I had seen a tweet where they were talking about a few other. I think they're called mangakas. Is the term for somebody who makes manga?
Ungali.
What?
Isn't that the name of the little guys from Halo? Ungoy, yeah.
We got Ungali?
Wasn't
that something else?
I think so. You talk about that. I'm gonna look this up.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Wesley and I are talking about the recent passing of Akira Toriyama, who was the guy, the creator and I guess you could say owner of the Dragon Ball IP. They've been doing Dragon Ball stuff since like late 70s.
I was about to say
that's like when it started.
Yeah,
because it's of course it started out as just a manga in Japan.
Yeah, just a comic, right?
Yeah, and then eventually made its way into television with anime and everything.
Yeah.
And then of course it was just in Japan for the longest time.
Right.
And then it somehow it found its way into like North American cable TV.
Right.
And then it was all over from that point. Like it took off massively in the United States. I'll tell you where else it took off, probably more so than anywhere else in the whole entire world, is South America.
Really?
Yeah, Dragon Ball is crazy big with South Americans.
Really?
Of like all denominations.
Huh. I would have never guessed.
There's been a lot, of course people have been tweeting and talking about his passing and everything. And a lot of the conversation is from South Americans, just talking about how much of an impact he and the show had on their lives, and like they all had this like shared experience of like growing up with it,
right?
And just like being so touched by it, like more so than I would have ever guessed.
Yeah.
Like, I liked the show growing up. I thought it was cool as shit.
Right.
But it wasn't like a huge part of me,
Well, I remember just like seeing it for the first time. And the first time I saw it, I was like, this is unlike anything I have ever seen before in my life.
A totally brand new thing.
What is this?
Yeah. And it's just like, as a young boy, it just ticks all the marks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the flying around and punching people,
the
and
hero's
shooting
journey,
lasers, the hero's journey, all the different like wacky characters.
Right.
Bulma was hot.
Yeah, there's like revenge.
Treason.
Yeah. It's almost like it's like Game of Thrones for little kids.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, except the death doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It has no consequence. Well, actually, I mean that's not entirely true. When Dragon Ball Z came around, that's kind of when death lost all its consequence.
Right.
Dragon Ball, however, the original series, it was a lot different. It was a lot different thematically as well. I personally, I really love the score in the original Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
I think the name of the guy, I think the name of the guy who did the music was Bruce Faulconer, is his name. Or maybe that he did the like localized soundtrack. Either way, the original Dragon Ball series, the music is so it's iconic too. If you hear it, you're like,
right.
Even if you detached from like the actual material, you would know that was Dragon Ball music. And there's a lot of like brassy, like kind of a marching rhythm, and they did a lot of what sounded like maybe xylophone or some kind of like little tinky instrument, But yeah, I just loved that sound. It was such such a unique sound.
Yeah, that's what I don't really remember ever. I don't think I've ever really watched like the original like Dragon Ball. Like my introduction to it was the Z series.
Yeah. Yeah, me
Which
too.
I think was a lot of people here was their introduction to it.
Because we saw it on Toonami.
Right.
I'm trying to find out who did the original Dragon Ball score because I want to get that right. A guy named Shinsuke Kikuchi. Okay. So who the fuck is Bruce Falconer?
Definitely not Bruce. Maybe that's like his alias that he used for like the localization.
Bruce Falconer is a totally different dude who made music for a version of Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay.
So I think he might have
for the Z series?
Yeah, I think he might have done some of the music for Dragon Ball Z. If anybody else knows for sure, be sure to write in and let us know, correct us on that. Yeah, but even like, Dragon Ball Z, it also had very iconic music.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was a lot of like synths and like square bass kind of sounds. Think like Vegeta's theme.
Yeah.
Or Cell's theme, for instance. Just lots of really cool, very cool, unique sounds that belong only to Dragon Ball Z. Like nothing else has a soundtrack like that.
The crazy thing about Dragon Ball Z was the fact that like all the villains kind of had like the same end goal in mind.
Yeah.
Was like enslavement of a planet.
Yeah.
Or like I'm gonna blow the planet up after I beat up everybody.
Yeah. The stakes were never very different.
Right. Yeah. But somehow or another they were able to kind of make the characters interesting.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy on YouTube. I can't think of his name right now. I think it's Mark something or another. I gotta look it up. He has a ton of videos where he talks about. He'll do like character analysis of the different like Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super villains and stuff like that. Let's see. Okay, that's not it. Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll post it on the Facebook page. How's that sound? For anybody that's interested in Dragon Ball Z character analysis.
I mean, I would imagine that some of our listeners are around our age.
Probably, probably.
Might be interested in that.
Any South Americans that are listening to it.
Which is, I think it's really interesting because, like, Akira Toriyama, like, kind of set the stage as far as, like, mainstream, like, anime, like, making its way into, like, the American zeitgeist.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like the same deal as, like, nobody really listened to metal before Metallica came on the scene. Like when Metallica came on the scene, they made it accessible to everybody, right?
Yeah, it was a good jump, like, starting off point.
Yeah, like all the normies knew who Metallica was. Like I feel like it's like the same kind of deal, right?
Right. Well, you think about the animes that sort of followed Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z in popularity. Like you had Naruto, which is all about fighting, but it's like ninjas. So
Gundam.
Of course, Gundam, big fucking robots fighting.
Right. I always thought Gundam was fucking cool.
Gundam was rad as shit. The funny thing is like Gundam was like a little bit more than just the robots.
Right.
So like there's a lot of like this, there was a lot of downtime in between the big robot fights where I was like, I don't really care about this. Oh, the fucking robots are fighting again.
I remember like the three big ones were Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, and Sailor Moon.
I forgot all about Sailor Moon.
Yeah, Sailor Moon was massive.
That's interesting that you bring that up because Sailor Moon was also really, really popular over here, but with female audience.
It was the female equivalent to essentially Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like the girls enjoyed, Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon also has a very unique soundtrack.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There's a very specific type of sound that it has as well. It's music. What about Pokemon? You can count Pokemon among that. Pokemon is kind of a different beast though because Pokemon is the largest media franchise in history.
Right.
and it's still going to this day. Anybody and everybody can recognize Pikachu. Anybody in the world, you say, "Who's this?" Like, "Oh, it's Pikachu. I know that." But it's interesting because, like, as a kid, I didn't really care too much for the anime.
Right. Like, I'd watch it if it came on.
I'd watch it if it was on. But I was definitely, as far as Pokemon was concerned, I was definitely more concerned with, like, the game, like the Game Boy game.
Like, the big thing, like, when we were kids was it was the Game Boy game and then collecting the cards.
Yeah.
Like, those were, more so for me, was I enjoyed the game, but I also enjoyed collecting the cards, but more so the game.
Yeah.
Right.
That reminds me, Chris and I started doing this thing where we were having a Yu-Gi-Oh card battle, but we were using Yu-Gi-Oh cards that we created with the AI image generator. So we would use the Bing image creator to, like, give it a prompt and have it make the card.
Yeah.
And then we would tell Snapchat's AI what the card is and have Snapchat tell us what the card does.
Yeah.
So we were having, like, a battle that way. And I made this one. It's Peter Pan on a mobility scooter. And it doesn't have a name, but I thought of the perfect name for it. Peter Pandicap. I like this one. This is just Mark. Just a fucking dude. Sorry about that little aside, but it was cracking me up. He sent me one. What did he send me? He sent me one that was, it was Fred Flintstone, but he's a Crip.
He's got the Infinity Gauntlet on.
It looks like he's got a bunch of like jewelry on. But yeah, I mean, I think anime had its biggest run, mainstream wise here in the States. I wouldn't say it's as popular here. Well, maybe it still is. Okay, that's definitely wrong to say. It's definitely popular here, but it's not on mainstream, like, cable TV. It's on mostly on, like, streaming sites,
right? Like Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll, you know, of course, is like the big one. But it's not on TV the way that, you know, Dragon Ball was on TV. You know, Pokemon was on TV.
I think that media accessibility has sort of changed, though. Like, a lot of people, they are using, you know, cable TV sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
But most of it is through streaming services.
Right. But I mean, like, I was just saying, like, it doesn't really appear on, like, prime television.
Right.
Though, of course, I don't think, you know, maybe it's not fair to say that anime back then did either. But, like, we would catch it, like,
after school,
like, before dinner, or, like, right before, like, we'd go to football practice. Dragon Ball Z was always on. Or, like, during the summer, remember, like, late at night during the summer, like 9, 10 o'clock p.m., that was when you would catch shit like Toonami at night. I think it was actually Adult Swim, like, part of their...
Yeah, they had... what was the one? Was it Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yu Yu Hakusho, yeah.
And there was, like, another one where the guy was, like, a demon or something like that. I don't remember which one that was.
Is it the guy that wore, like, the red gi and he had, like, long white hair?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's called, but I do know what you're talking about.
There was that one. There was Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop is actually pretty fucking rad.
Yeah.
It's about, like, he's like a bounty hunter in space, but it's also, like, kind of, it's, like, thematically a Western in space. It's really neat.
I think I was just too kind of young at that time to sort of...
like, appreciate it?
Yeah, to really appreciate it.
What was the other one? Bleach was a big one. Fucking Hamtaro.
Yeah.
What was up with Hamtaro? Who was that for?
I don't know.
That was like, I think, like, the creators of, like, Hamtaro were like, hey, look at all this other anime that's getting appreciated in America. Maybe we could kind of squeak in there. Yeah. Everybody's like, ew, what is this? What's with this rat?
What was the other big one? It was One Piece was another big one.
Yeah, which is just still going.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I think that there's over 1,000 episodes.
Yeah.
That's fucking insanity.
You can't start now.
Yeah,
you can't start it now.
That seems so insurmountable.
Right.
Like, I feel the same way I feel about that as I do about fucking, like, Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
Like, that's such a task. It's such a, like, you know what I mean? Like, just sit there and, like, it's just, like, ingest all of that. Yeah.
Or it's like, what was the other one? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was another big one.
Yeah, that one has a lot of like relevance in like meme culture.
Right.
You see JoJo memes all the time.
So does Yu-Gi-Oh though. Yu-Gi-Oh is massive in meme culture.
Yu-Gi-Oh is another one. Yu-Gi-Oh actually, interestingly enough, like the first like 5 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh are totally different from like what the rest of the show ended up being.
Wild.
Like it really wasn't that much about like the trading card game.
No.
It was about a boy who was possessed by a pharaoh spirit, and he would like damn people to hell. And then they were like, man, this is really heady. What if it was just a trading card game?
Well, what was because I think, and there was like even, was it at the beginning of that season, like the first season? Or was it at the end where like it turned into like a dice throwing game?
That's right. It did change. Yeah, they changed it again. That's right. I forgot all about that.
Was it the beginning of it? It was a dice throwing game, or was it at the end?
Oh god, that's hard to say. I want to say that was at the end. Because I want to say that was what caused me to lose interest. I was like, oh, this isn't about trading cards anymore.
Right.
Of course, that was the only thing that made Yu-Gi-Oh interesting was the fact that it had a real-world component where you could, like, get a Yu-Gi-Oh card pack.
Right. Well, it was different than, like, Pokemon, where it's like you had the cards and there was, like, a card game that you could play with them. But, like, there was no reference.
Yeah.
Like, on the, like, people like, you want to play Pokemon cards? Like, nobody does that.
Yeah, who does that? Yeah.
There's, like, all these energy cards. It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Trainer cards? What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This doesn't have a picture of a cool dinosaur on it. This is a picture of a potion.
Speaking of cool dinosaurs, I think the wildest one was Digimon.
Oh, Digimon, yeah.
Where it'd be, like, a little, like,
just like a regular looking
like
T-Rex baby.
It would start out as like this little like Hershey Kiss like cum drop.
Cum drop.
And then it like evolve into like a baby dinosaur or something.
Yeah.
Or like a shrub.
Yeah. None of it made any sense.
Yeah. And then it turned in like into like a fridge with like machine guns attached to it.
Yeah. And like a dildo like strapped onto the front of it. Yeah, and they always had like they all ended in "mon," like that was like their thing, I guess, that set them apart or whatever.
I wonder if that like has a specific meaning in Japanese.
I don't know. I think it's just a suffix of it just means monster. It's just shorthand for monster.
Oh,
That's what that is. Pokemon's the same thing.
Yeah.
Pokemon is a
pocket monster.
Pocket monster is what it means. Which is funny because the E has the little like accent above it.
Yeah.
Nobody says paquet.
Yeah.
Paquet monster.
What are you, some type of Frenchman?
Oh, Poké monster. Pikachu. But yeah, all the Digimon was. I'm trying to remember. The Wargreymon is what comes to mind.
Is that the dinosaur one?
There was one called Wargreymon. I remember that.
No, there's a wolf one, wasn't there? There's like a wolf and a dinosaur.
In my head, I'm envisioning an orange T-Rex with like a battle helmet on, and I can't tell you whether or not he had a gun. Kind of half paid attention to Digimon, which is funny because I think the reason why I didn't get into Digimon as much is because it was going on at the same time that Pokemon was going on. So I was like, okay, well, I got to choose one of these things to be invested in.
Well, I think this was a different iteration. It's essentially when he put on the Gundam suit.
That doesn't. I'm not familiar with this, but if you showed me that, I'm like, that's a Digimon.
You're right.
Like, I can tell.
It's a dinosaur with a big helmet with horns on it.
But he's like a bipedal dinosaur.
Right.
He's like a big lizard man. Who the fuck knows?
Whoever it was taking massive lines of coke.
Yeah, absolutely, they were. I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like I remember an episode of Digimon where all the kids. I remember that there was a bunch of families standing in a forest, and all the kids walked through a portal. And there was another guy there who was like, oh, don't worry. For us in the real world, it'll only be 7 seconds. But for them, it will be 7 years. And then, like, the kids walked back out of the portal.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we got to tell you about everything. And then, like, it like, hard cut to, like, them coming through the portal the first time. That was, like, how it started off. And as a kid, I was like, you're freaking me out with all this. I was like, Pokemon is a much simpler concept for my little mind to comprehend. Ash,
they were just
Ash
kind of all over
into a
the
fight
place,
with a
weren't
monkey.
they? Right.
Yeah.
They were having like quantum mechanics.
It was everywhere.
They went into the quantum realm.
Yeah. I feel like there was a Digimon that was literally a pile of shit.
Probably.
He was a pink pile of shit, if I remember correctly.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like we've talked about beforehand. It's like some of the best story writing currently is with some of the animes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's sort of like with Attack on Titan.
Man, Attack on Titan, the fact that, like, it never had a lost moment.
Right.
Where it became like, okay, obviously the writers
jumped the shark.
They have no fucking clue what they're doing anymore.
Right.
It really, really, really feels like it was all thought out from the very beginning.
Right.
Which is kind of insane to think about because I started watching that show in 2013.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that was when I started watching it. It went on for about 10 years.
Right.
But there's only 4 seasons. So we did a lot of waiting in between.
But I don't feel like at any time like it was ever soured. Like they did a pretty good job. No, I don't think so
either. And everything had a purpose too. Like there was never any there was never really any storylines that didn't get resolved. Everything tied in together. Nothing felt rushed or unearned.
Right.
Some people will probably disagree with that, but I honestly feel that it wrapped up as well as the series could.
I think compared to most like modern shows and cinema,
comparing it to what we're used to,
right?
Yeah,
which that might be setting the bar extremely low.
Yeah,
but,
not a very high bar to
but I think they did a pretty good job. I mean, like I said, comparatively, I think they did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Especially like there was a whole lot of stuff like in the first like couple of episodes that ended up having relevance because of stuff that happened at the very end of the whole series.
Right.
And you would have never been a moment where like, does this mean anything?
Yeah, it's sort of like how they tied together. It's like at the end of all the episodes, you saw like the leaves floating in the wind, and then you saw it again right there at the end. And it's like, that's where they pulled that from.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like visual.
There's like a lot of like little
too.
Easter eggs where like you see it over and over and over again. You're like, and then once you see them like pull it in, you appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But it's also like a lot of the story beats and everything too. Like the first episode opens up with Aaron. He wakes up, he's leaning up against that tree, and he wakes up and he was crying. And the reason he was crying was because himself from the future was experiencing like all realities all at once.
Right.
So it was really fucking with him way back in the past. And in the first episode, when you see that scene, it's kind of like just some kind of throwaway thing.
Right.
But you don't realize that is like one of the biggest story implications of the whole thing.
Right. And I thought it was really good the way that they wrote it, how like you never got an idea of actually what, like I think it was past like season 3.
Yeah.
As like you didn't get an insight into him anymore until like the final episode where he starts to explain it.
Yeah.
Like,
they really kind of, he went from being kind of like the main character, the guy you're rooting for, to he became the antagonist.
Right.
And he was like this detached antagonist.
Right.
Like you kind of had an idea why he was doing what he was doing, but like he was removed from you.
Right.
Which was a very odd thing to do. It was cool. It was a cool thing to do narratively, I thought.
Right. Well, it almost makes it to where like it's not relatable because it's not as if he is a person anymore.
Right, yeah.
Right? So they made him essentially just a thing.
Yeah. And then you get, the only thing I could think of that I didn't like was they had a big expository moment where him and Armin are having that kind of heart-to-heart moment together where he just literally explains everything to Armin, why everything is going on.
Right.
But the way that they handled it works because Armin had no fucking idea why he was doing. Nobody had any idea. None of the characters
I had
did.
heard that they rewrote that.
I heard that they did too. I heard that there was some dialogue that was in a different order initially.
No.
And then they went back and they rechanged it.
Yeah, they had the same. I had
it.
heard that they had the same dialogue. They just changed the
came
order
out.
that they kind of put it in.
Um,
Because I think in the manga, that was the original dialogue, and people really did not like it.
People didn't like it, yeah. I think people didn't like it because there was a lot of truths that he revealed. Like, one of the truths that he revealed was that he loved Mikasa the whole time.
Right.
And that he didn't want her to love anybody else.
Right.
But also at the same time, one of the other truths that he revealed was, I have to destroy so much of the world.
Right.
It has to happen. And they were like, they had this like Mikasa moment where like all the emotions swelled up, and then they followed it up with like this arguably more important thing that he was not as concerned with.
Right.
And so that kind of felt weird.
No.
But when you switch those things around, and the emotion builds up, then it feels more natural. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. I just could imagine like watching that show as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like it's pretty much it's actiony all the time. I don't think there's any episodes that go by where
they don't really have any filler episodes.
Yeah, where like nothing happens.
Yeah, it's always constantly like they're telling a story. Like with Dragon Ball, like Z and with Super, that filler episodes where it's like there's just fucking nothing going on.
Dragon Ball Z was the worst about it, where you would just have 10 minutes accumulatively per episode of people literally standing around staring at each other.
Or there's like one where like they play a fucking baseball game.
Yeah, something like that. Or they're just like grunting at one another. That's all the dialogue is. A lot of people are like, oh.
Do you think that if the internet was the way that it is now back in 1997, 1999, like early 2000s, do you think there would have been a lot of like Dragon Ball Z with like new metal like put over the top of it as like a compilation?
Oh yeah, that shit already exists.
Because those two things existed at the same
time. Yeah, I'm sure there's shit like that already.
There's got to be like a Dragon Ball Z compilation with like Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. If you go on YouTube and you look like Dragon Ball Z Breaking Benjamin, like I guarantee you, there's a fucking stupid ass video. Yeah, some 13-year-old put together. Like, this is so fucking sick, dude. Because they used to use that Breaking Benjamin song, "Blow Me Away."
Oh yeah,
that was the song that got used on every compilation of like Halo 2 trick shots and montages.
That was
stuff.
in the original Halo 2 soundtrack.
Yeah,
though,
it was.
It?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Breaking Benjamin wrote that song for Halo 2.
Really? I didn't know that.
And they didn't take any kind of payment or anything for it.
Yeah.
They
were just fans of the
Well, they wrote it for Halo 2. It ended up going on one of their albums.
Yeah.
But they were such big fans of the, the first Halo. They were like, hey, we just want to be involved.
Right.
Somehow. So did Incubus also wrote a song.
Yeah.
For that game. Same deal.
You want to talk about, like, somebody putting together, like, a score.
Yeah.
Like, what is that guy? I always forget what his name is.
Marty O'Donnell.
Marty O'Donnell.
Yeah.
That guy.
Who I think is getting into politics now.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he is. He's running for some kind of position.
I figured he was still working for Bungie.
No, he hasn't worked for Bungie in a long time.
Really?
Yeah. I think after Halo 3...
he separated from the company?
It all kind of, yeah. Let's see. I just want to see. He announced on his Discord server his intention to run as a Republican Party candidate in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District.
How odd.
Yeah, very odd. I don't know what his political career will hold, but I'm a big fan of his music.
Well, I mean, it's like him and the guy that did the score for Doom.
Mick Gordon.
Mick Gordon.
Yeah.
Like they're totally separate. You can't really compare the two.
Yeah. But masters of their craft.
But as far as like what the game needed at the time, like they hit it out of the park.
Yeah, could you imagine like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal with like anything other than the music that it has now. If it was just some like normal, just fucking like soulless, like synth kind of
right
electronic music, like fucking whatever, it'd be like any other game.
Right.
But so much of that game is the attitude behind it.
Right.
And like mix music is nothing if not attitude.
Right. And for them to be like, we don't want any metal.
Yeah, they told him no metal. And he was like, okay. And he's like, hey, here's what I got. It's fucking metal.
They had to know what they were getting.
Well, I mean,
when
look
you
at what
commissioned this guy.
Look at what the game is.
Right.
You're a dude running around and you're like tearing the guts out of demons. Like, what else could it be?
No.
It's not going to be country music.
Yeah. Like, what are you expecting here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's those two games. The soundtracks for those two games, they're completely different. Like with Halo, you have like the original song that everybody knows
with the chanting
and everything, which is like, even for somebody that I think is not actively involved, like with maybe video games at all,
you probably recognize.
Like if you heard it, you'd be like, I've heard that somewhere before.
Yeah, I know what that's for. I've heard that before. Yeah,
and for that to kind of transcend like video game culture, and then like move into like other parts of.
It's also really interesting too when you compare the soundtrack for Halo Combat Evolved, the first game, and then the soundtrack for Halo 2. The attitude between those two games is wildly different. Like the first Halo game is definitely more like it's a lot more like just kind of like the sci-fi kind of militaristic. It even has like some horror elements like thrown in the middle. Like the first time you played through that game, you didn't know what the fuck the flood were. You're like, what is this? But then Halo 2 comes around and he's got fucking Steve Vai on the guitar and Master Chief's holding two guns. Right. And like the game is just like,
do me, give me my due.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
bagel bites and Mountain Dew.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's go time.
Fucking mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, pizza rolls.
Yeah, that early 2000s fucking angsty energy. That's all Halo 2 is.
I miss the early 2000s. There is something about it.
We really had something. Yeah. we really had it all.
And then we just lost it.
Yeah. You can't hold on to greatness forever.
It's so strange how like the late 90s, early 2000s, that was like its own thing.
Yeah.
And then there was just kind of like a period of like 2004 to like 2006, like a 2 to 3 year period where there wasn't really much going on.
That's when we crashed.
Yeah.
That's when everybody came down.
And then like moving into like 2007, 2008, like the metalcore scene got real big, and then you had like
meme culture around that time.
And meme culture, you're right.
Meme culture really started to pick up around that time too. From about 2007 and onward, 2007 and onward, it really started. Internet memes started picking up, but back then it was shit like Velociraptor
and like Bad Luck Brian.
Yeah, memes now that like your grandma might share.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I found this funny picture on the internet," and then she shows you on her phone, but it's like a screenshot of a screenshot.
It's either that or like a Minions meme.
Yeah. Something that I see old people do on Facebook all the time. I see it all the time. Is they'll go to their camera roll to find a picture they want to upload.
No.
And they'll screenshot that picture from their camera roll and upload that screenshot. It says like you were already in the camera roll on the picture you wanted.
There.
You wanted to upload.
Yeah. Just click it, just select it, press it, and then hit upload.
I don't get that, and it's always funny when they do it from the camera roll too, because they don't realize that on the bottom ribbon there's like 40 other images in your camera roll that people can zoom in and see what they are. And I saw one the other day. There's a restaurant near here, and the person who owns the restaurant or somebody was posting about it on Facebook, and they posted a picture of their food. But of course, it was a screenshot of their camera roll, and my curiosity got the better of me. I zoomed in to see what the other pictures were, and like one of them was just this fucking nasty foot, just like this fucking foot with like these crazy yellow toenails.
It was like on a Google review.
No, this was like on Facebook.
Okay,
somebody posted it, and the foot reminds me Do you remember that episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog where I think it's Eustace turns into a Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah.
And they end up being like gangsters, like Chicago gangsters.
Yeah.
It's so funny to see them do shit like that. One of my favorite things I've ever saw was these guys, like grandma or whatever, had a picture hung up on her wall.
Yeah.
But it was clearly a screenshot that she took of like his Facebook from Facebook page, because like also on the picture hanging on the wall was like this 25% opacity like volume adjustment thing.
Nice.
So it was like the volume slider is stuck there.
Yeah.
It's just so funny, and it's like, she wouldn't have had that printed, like.
Right, you would think the person behind the counter would
Somebody
be
at
like,
CBS would be
ma'am,
like, "Are you sure you?" Yeah.
Right.
But
can I help you?
But it was probably just like some 16-year-old fucking like whatever.
Yeah, he's got like the fucking
the hair over like one half. Yeah. He just read like Nietzschean philosophy, so he knows everything about everything.
Yeah, it's sort of wild, like looking back in the day, like especially like when you consider like trends and styles. Like there was a very specific look to the early 2000s.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So my idea of the early 2000s is like all the cool kids wore the Jinko jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The big fucking jeans with like the big Osiris.
That was like a holdover from the 90s too.
Yeah, like the big like fat Osiris.
Yeah.
Like tennis shoes.
People wore skate shoes.
I had a pair of them. They were
Vans.
super fucking comfortable.
Yeah,
they look fucking stupid as shit.
Yeah,
but
they looked so dumb. They looked so big, fucking chunky shoes, and like, but they were so comfortable.
They were so comfortable.
Because there's nothing but foam.
Because remember, I had a pair of white Etnies.
Yeah,
and I
Etnies. I forgot about Etnies.
I was like, these are the most comfortable fucking shoes I've ever worn in my life. I was like, they look fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But
oh, dude, I had to look, man. I had I had a pair of audio shoes.
Nice.
And they had like, they were all black except like the bottom like sole was like white, right? They had like the orange on the bottom. Yeah. And then I would wear camouflage khaki shorts that were like went way past the knee, you know. And then I wore like a black T-shirt with like the Independent logo on it. Yeah, but I was a fucking fat kid, so it didn't look cool at all.
Yeah, I always like, I think of that. I think like the big Jinko jeans and like the big fat shoes, and then like a band T-shirt. And then there's
Korn.
Yeah, Korn. Yeah, a lot of like Korn and like Limp Bizkit T-shirts
Slipknot,
and Slipknot. And then, but there was always like spiky hair.
Yeah.
And like the kid's name was Cody.
Cody. Yeah, I can see this kid so clearly. Like he's in like my 8th grade math class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he told me what porn was.
Yeah. But like there's like that. Okay, so that's like the boy version of like the early 2000s. And then like the girl version was like somebody that like listened to like Vanessa Carlton.
Ooh.
Or isn't that the girl that did
what a one-hit wonder that was.
Yeah, she was the one that did 1,000 Miles, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that, and then they always wore like if they were real slutty, they wore like the black
choker.
The black choker lace necklace
fucking
thing.
Slut.
Yeah. But they had like that, and they had like the string top like the
spaghetti strap, like tank
spaghetti
tops.
strap tank tops,
and like I don't know what those are called, but is it low waisted jeans?
It's like low waisted like hip hugger jeans, right?
Yeah.
There was like that, and then I don't really like the shoes or whatever. It's probably the same.
A lot of the girls then too still wore a lot of like traditionally colored, traditionally like girly kind of color palettes too. Like a lot of like
light
pastels,
pink. Yeah, pastels, yeah,
blues, pink, purple, that kind of thing. It was very rare to see a girl wearing like earthy tones or like or black at all. No, like even like of course you had like the goths, but that was kind of like
fucking weird girl.
Yeah, that was like they were standouts, but like it was very. You saw a lot of that traditionally girly kind of look.
Yeah, so like you had that. So I would say that would be like 1999 to like 2003. maybe like 1997 to like 2003, right? So that was like a long period of time.
Yeah.
That like that style was like the style that everybody was going after,
yeah.
right? And then like with the death of nu metal, which I think kind of encompassed that whole deal, right? When like there was like a vacuum from like 2004 to about 2006.
And hip hop sucked in. It stepped in right there.
Right, and hip hop stepped in.
Yeah.
And then like, and this might have been like the people that I was around, but then like after that, like starting in 2006, that's like when emo got big and like the scene kids. Yeah. Do you remember them?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there was always like the fingerless gloves. And then there was like
the black and pink striped.
Yeah, the back. Yeah, the sleeves.
The sleeves. Yeah.
Or there was like fishnet sleeves, maybe. And then there was always like the crazy hair,
like teased hair.
Yeah, the teased hair with like the swoop.
There was a girl that sat next to me in Spanish class who was like way.
Yeah, she was in
that.
it.
She was in it, man.
She was in it.
Both feet. Yeah. I remember she would always wear like. She would wear like a graphic tee for like Jeffree Star.
No.
And then like a pink tutu. And then like black and green horizontal striped leggings.
Yeah.
And then like of course she had like the big teased hair.
Right.
And like the crazy like eye makeup.
Yeah.
And like all the, remember like just a million bracelets.
A million. It's just
billion
from
bracelets.
fucking armpit to fucking wrist. It's nothing but bracelets.
Just those neon green rubber bracelets all up and down.
Like I remember that, like that was big.
I thought she was so hot. I had no idea it looked dumb as fuck.
And then like the guys had like the same haircut.
Yeah.
And then they would wear like a fucking, I don't know, what was a big band during that time? Fucking Slipknot wasn't cool with those kids. It would have been like fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of nothing's coming
like
to
a
mind.
My Chemical Romance shirt or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Something like that. Or like maybe like a Panic at the Disco shirt or something.
Oh god, I always hated Panic
so
at the
it was
Disco.
something like that, and then they had like the fucking tightest jeans.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how you're not ripping like seams out of those jeans right now.
Yeah.
And then they always had like the studded belt.
Yeah.
The studded belt. And then like the
but you could only pull that off if you were a skinny person, a skinny kid.
I could not have done that.
I couldn't have done that. So I respect the game.
I would have looked wild.
I had to wear whatever fucking fit. So I would go get my dad's shirts out of the closet and wear it to school. Oh man!
And I remember both of those. They always wore those checkered fucking Vans.
Oh yeah,
those were real big.
Those are still you still see those a lot. The checkered Vans,
yeah.
The little like little slip on, little deals. Yeah,
I've never had a pair. I've heard that they're very comfortable, but
I still see those nowadays.
But it's kind of interesting to like watch that evolution, and then of course, then like I went off to college and I lost touch with all of it.
It was very
but there was the Affliction.
Oh,
that was a good one.
That was like 2010 when all that started. And the tap out shirts.
And so in 2020, like 2009, 2010, you had like the Affliction era when the UFC got big.
Yeah.
And then like the UFC got big, and then there was like a song. There was not a song, but there was music, of course.
Back
that goes
off by
Mr. Trapped.
By Trapped.
Yeah. Did you ever see that?
Back off and take you off.
Did you ever see that beef that he had online?
And
like a bunch of bands, he was like, I have more listeners on Pandora than you.
No, I didn't see
the
this.
dude from Dance Gavin Dance called him Mr. Trapped.
Mr. Trapped. Whoa. Why does that sting so bad? Mr. Trapped.
Oh.
That's funny.
But yeah, so like you had You had like the Affliction T-shirts, and this was for guys and girls.
Don't forget Papa Roach now.
Oh yeah, Mr. Papa Roach as well.
Mr. Roach.
Mr. Roach. And then like the jeans had like the bedazzled jeans. I had a pair of them. They're fucking stupid looking.
The bedazzled butt
bedazzled
pockets.
like butt pockets and everything. And then like work boots or something like that, and like big chunky like rings and leather cuffs, some type of accessory on the wrist, you know. And then like the women always had like the skunk hair, you know what I mean? Like they had like the skunk hair, and they would always wear like the Affliction stuff, where they were wearing like a fox racing.
Was Affliction the girl one? Because you had Tap Out, and then there was one for girls. What was it called?
There was Affliction, which I thought that was for guys.
I just remember that there was one for...
Tap Out, I think, is a different brand.
Yeah. The funny thing about Tap Out shirts was, like, the people who wore Tap Out shirts were never in good shape. It was always, like, big fat dudes.
Yeah.
And, like, little skinny guys. Like, people who would not fare well in a physical altercation. Was it Sinful? I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like that. Something along those lines.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then, during that time, like, butt rock had a huge resurgence.
Butt rock. Yeah,
like,
it did. It had a comeback there.
Yeah, it had a comeback. It had a moment.
You had
like, Theory of a Dead Man.
Would you count that as butt rock? Yeah, I guess that's butt rock.
Theory of a Dead Man's
Who did that
big
song?
Time butt
rock. Who is it? Oh, Crossfade.
Yeah, Crossfade.
That is to me, in my opinion. I can't think of the name of the song, but he's like, looking back at me, I see that I never. Yeah, that song, like that song about Crossfade is the quintessential butt rock song.
Are they the same ones that do, or is that the same song where he's like?
I think it's called So Cold or Cold.
I'm trying to think. I just lost it.
It's going to drive me crazy. Hang on. It's Crossfade. Yeah, okay, the song is just called Cold. It's called Cold by the band Crossfade.
No.
You know what else I remember about that song in particular? Brandon and Justin, who were the neighbor kids that lived down the street from us.
No. Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to you guys. Lots of good childhood memories. They had a game for like the PlayStation or something that was like an ATV or dirt bike kind of game.
Yeah.
And there was like a whole like story mode, yada yada yada, the whole thing with it. But there was also like this demo mode where they just gave you like a dirt track with some ramps and shit to dick around with.
Yeah.
That was all we ever did. We never touched any other part of the game. It was just that. And that fucking song, there was like 5 songs in that whole game. Yeah. And it was just cycle through them, and fucking every time fucking Cold by Crossfade would come up, we were both like, looking back at me, because we're so fucking cool, you know?
Oh. But yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of funny, because like after that, like, and it might just be like, I'm just not in touch with this shit anymore.
Yeah.
It seems like after the Affliction phase, it just kind of...
Fashion in particular stopped being homogenous, I think. I think that, you know, it was like from the 90s and onwards there for a little while, it was, you had these eras, these very distinct eras. Well, really before
like
that.
The 80s had like the leg warmers and the shoulder pads. And
70s had their own thing. 60s, 50s, all so on and so forth. I guess 20s technically if you count flappers and all that stuff. But it stopped right after 2010 and so on. It stopped being homogenous, and fashion kind of just became this thing where everybody just did whatever they wanted all the time. Like, you don't really see a particular recurring theme.
Right.
Maybe there was like the swag era where people were dressing up in like swag gear,
it was like
or whatever.
Where everybody was wearing like Supreme shit or whatever.
Which I thought was a joke. I didn't know that was for real. But then I guess you could say the little like broccoli top haircut thing is a fashion that might be you know, indicative of this era.
Yeah, but I guess I would think that
masks.
Masks. They were real big in 2020.
Yeah.
But I mean, like when I think about like, you know, like what defines like the decade or an era, like I think mostly of like the hair, the clothes,
the
music, like the 70s. I have a very distinct idea of what the 70s are.
Right.
I have a very distinct idea of what the 60s are. Same thing with the 50s, the 80s, the 90s.
For me, the 80s is like sort of bisected into this like flock of seagulls, like piano key, black and white checkered, kind of a synth wavy type of thing.
Right.
But also this like wood paneling, fleur-de-lis patterned couch,
right?
Big Berber carpet kind of, smoke stained linoleum floor kind of 80s.
Well, I mean, I guess it is kind of interesting when you think about like the 80s because you did kind of see a split in like subcultures.
Yeah.
Like you might not have seen. Well, I guess the 70s were the same way. You had like the people who listened to like Southern rock and the denim. There's a lot of denim involved and long hair.
Yeah.
And like bell-bottom jeans and everything. But then there was
tassel-y vests.
Right, and then there was also disco.
Yeah.
Which was like its own thing during like the 70s and early 80s.
Right.
But then like moving into the 80s, like you had a very distinct separation between like pop music, which pop music is just whatever's fucking popular.
Whatever's popular, yeah.
Right, as opposed to like going into like you had like hair metal got real big.
Yeah.
And then you like coming out of hair metal, like going into like the late 80s, early 90s, you had then thrash got real big. And like that rock kind of separated and went its own way.
Well, lots of everything that branched off further. So there's at this point, like there's so much stuff that is a subculture of what came before it.
Right.
like a genealogy. And you can trace it all the way back to like the biggest contributor to all of that was like blues.
Yeah.
Blues
and jazz.
Which blues and jazz may have split off from one another.
Right.
From maybe big band. Big band split off into those two things, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah, I find it kind of funny because I mean, even when we were growing up, like our parents were still aware of like what's the dominant culture. Like they knew who Korn and Limp Bizkit were. Well, they didn't want us listening to them, but they were aware of who they were.
A big part of that might have been because our mom was a teacher.
Right. Well,
so she kind of had her finger on the pulse of like what the kids are into anyway.
But then like looking at like the kids nowadays, it's like I don't know any of the bands.
Yeah.
Like I don't know any of like what they're wearing, like what's the dominant culture here.
I see a lot of mullets these days.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I guess hairstyles are really big with like whatever this current culture is.
Right.
But like looking at like when we grew up, like there was more attached to what the ensemble was.
Yeah,
like
the whole piece. There was all of it together.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing. It was a package deal.
Yeah, you couldn't get away with just frosted tips. You had to go like the whole 9 yards. You couldn't wear frosted tips in a 3-piece suit.
But I find it funny because from what I'm hearing or like just watching videos and stuff, it seems like a lot of the kids are kind of reverting back.
Yeah.
To like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Or like in that 2000s period.
That would be
like they're picking up on that.
Fucking insane to see people return to big baggy jeans and like flaming button-up shirts. You know what I mean? Like Guy Fieri Flavor Town fucking shirt.
Like ska gets real big again.
The puka shell necklace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, cause
I fucking love every time. I cannot think of Guy Fieri without thinking about Djibouti Dubs. It was him. He goes to see that Asian chef or whatever, and he's like sticks his whole hand in that pot. He's like, "Oh, me reka very much."
But from what I've seen, it's like apparently like Deftones has gotten real big again.
Deftones, really? Wow.
Like, I honestly, I never listened to fucking Deftones.
Yeah.
Like when they were like, I guess in their heyday.
Queens of the Stone Age are getting big again. That's funny.
Like it's just interesting. Like, and from what I've seen, it seems like, from what I've heard, it seems like the kids they're looking for something, like
something to belong to. Yeah.
Like I remember like when what was the Netflix show that was real big with all the kids?
Stranger Things?
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there like a resurgence of like Metallica at some point because they played like Master of Puppets?
For a little bit there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, it seems like this generation doesn't like have a thing. Like they're looking for it to like try to latch on to something. Like I still see like a lot of kids walking around with like Nirvana t-shirts on.
Yeah. Well, I think the Nirvana t-shirt thing is kind of just like it's, you know, people have always kind of classically liked shirts that are just like, oh, that's retro.
Yeah.
Retro, of course, always means something different. Like, it's crazy to think that, like, you know, kids are going to be wearing shirts for retro bands, and it's bands that you and I grew up with.
Right.
Like, kids will be like, oh, I love this retro shirt for Disturbed.
Yeah. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's so vintage.
Did you ever see that video? It's a guy, they're making fun of Disturbed's music, and it's just a guy going, nama na, nama na, nama nama, like that. And they're like, never has a band done so much with so little. And he's like, nah, nama na, nama na.
I don't know. I just find it interesting to sort of like look at that stuff, especially like looking back at like your own childhood.
Yeah.
And being like, what the fuck was I doing?
What was going on? The hell was happening? There was a really embarrassing story I wanted to tell, but I had to precede it with a few things. 2 days ago, no, I'm sorry, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. I had to go to the doctor to get my ears flushed out because my left ear was like impacted with wax.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get it out, and if I stuck a Q-tip in there, it just like jammed it in deeper. Which, you know, everybody knows you're not supposed to stick a Q-tip in your ear. Everybody does it anyway. It's like jerking off. You know, you're not supposed to do that. But I don't know if you ever had your ears flushed at the doctor.
No, I haven't.
It sucks. It doesn't hurt. It's just very uncomfortable.
No.
They get this. They have like.
Is it like saline solution they shoot in there?
It's like a vinegar something or another.
Yeah.
They use like a vinegar to like break it up or whatever.
Yeah.
But they have this thing that looks like a squirt bottle, but with got like a long hose on the end with like a little thin tip.
Yeah.
And they stick that in your ear and they squirt. They start squirting. So they're squirting all this water into your ear, trying to like flush it out, and it's cold. And it feels like it's behind your eyeball.
Ugh, I don't like that at all.
But when they finish, it's so nice. Because you hear, it does that thing where it goes like that. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to come. But, yeah, they stick this like little bucket thing. They like hold this little bucket thing right there while they flush your ear out. And, the lady, she's like, here, look. And I looked at it, and just so much wax.
Yeah.
But it reminded me, there was a girl that I quite fancied in high school.
No.
And
Was she a waxy gal?
well, I was sitting there in the band room. I think this was during band camp, and I was waiting to get picked up by my mom.
Yeah, nice. Good look.
Yeah. So I was sitting there.
Was that when Mom was driving the minivan?
She was driving the big what was it? The Ford Escape? No, that's what she has now. The Ford Expedition.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't Escape. It was.
It was a black.
They
SUV.
don't make it anymore. It was like a crossover between a wagon and an SUV.
Yeah.
What the fuck was the name of that thing?
It was some kind of. All their SUVs have that naming convention: Escape, Excursion, Expedition.
They don't make it.
Explorer?
No, it's not Explorer. They don't make it anymore. Ford.
Explanation.
It's not an
I
Eclipse.
just spit all over this.
I sound like Beavis. It was something. I know
You know
exactly what you're
talking
talking about.
Anyway, the point of the story is, I was sitting there, I was listening to music on whatever. I think I had like a little like yellow MP3 player.
Yeah.
It didn't have a screen on it. It's just kind of all you could do was shuffle.
Oh, was that the one that had the little red button on it?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
I was listening to that, and the girl that I liked came over, and she was like, "Hey, what are you listening to?" And I was like, "Nothing." And she was like, "Let me listen." And like, I felt her pull one of the earbuds out of my ear, and And then she just puts it back. And the funny thing is, sorry guys, that really got Wesley. Oh. The thing is, I knew exactly what had happened.
Yeah.
Because I had issues with earwax buildup before. So I never took the earbud out and looked at it myself.
No.
But all I can imagine is that it must have been horrendous. Just a big brown glob. And I'm sorry that she had to see that. And I'm glad that we both went our separate ways.
No. For the best.
For the best. Yeah. But I remembered it when I was at the doctor and she squirted all that shit up in my ear.
Yeah.
And I saw the earwax and I was like, oh.
You're like,
I remember.
There's that memory again. Ugh.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Don't you just hate when stuff like that happens?
What can you do? What can you do?
And then mom pulls up. How was band camp?
Don't talk to me, Mom. I ruined my life. Yeah, that was a bad one. I mean, I've done all sorts of embarrassing shit in front of girls before. I remember one time, like, do you remember the trailers?
Yeah.
I remember one time I was trying to show off to this girl by jumping off of the railing
Bold move.
of the platform or whatever.
No.
It's already like 7 feet high off the ground.
No.
But I like jumped. Like,
You didn't like try to squat down and like jump down.
No.
You like jumped up and
jumped off and up. And like I remember I landed really, really hard and it fucking hurt my ankle. I went, oh, my ankle, and I kind of like did like this kind of stumble thing, and then I fell down on my chest. And I went to roll over and kind of laugh it off as a joke, but she was already gone.
Yeah.
And then there was another kid standing there, just kind of looking at me. Just with this like blank expression on his face. I don't know who that kid was. I've never seen that.
Oh,
I've never seen him before, and I don't believe I've seen him since.
Oh man, I remember. It was like, oh god, I think maybe my junior year. There was, I had gotten in the truck, and I was getting ready to leave, and I heard somebody call my name, so I got out of the truck and like turned around to see who it was.
Yeah.
So the truck is still there.
Yeah.
And like I got out and like let go of the wheel and turned around and looked who it was, and saw who it was and started walking towards him, talking to him.
Yeah.
And I see their fist go,
oh,
like that, and I went, fuck.
You didn't put the truck in park? Oh,
I
no.
put it in drive.
Oh, shit.
And about that time, there was another girl that was driving up, and the truck just rolled into her car.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
And just crushed the back corner panel.
I remember that, yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Because it didn't hurt the truck at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like totaled her car.
Yeah, just totaled her fucking car. I was like, God damn it.
I remember one time we had a kid, his van got stolen out of the parking lot.
What?
While it was PE, and we were sitting up in the bleachers outside because they made us go outside that day. And we were all sitting up in the bleachers, and it was weird because we all just kind of at the same time looked over at the parking lot, and there's his van driving away.
No.
And like I remember looking at his van drive away, and I was like, "Wait a second, he's right here." And I was like, "Dude, your van just drove away." And he was like, "What the
fuck?" That's a bold move, giving your kid a van in high school.
Yeah. A van of all things.
That's taking some risks.
It's a lot of room in the back.
There's a lot of room back there. You essentially gave him a shaggin' wagon.
You're setting him up for failure.
Yeah. This is not good.
No, you got to give him like a two-door or a coupe or like a shitty coupe.
Right. You
or
need
like
to
a four-door sedan.
Yeah. You need to give him like an old S10.
Something that's really uncomfortable to fuck in. That's what you want to give him.
Right, exactly.
To discourage any of that.
Yeah, give him a bicycle.
You don't want to do an S10 because that's a bench seat. We can make a bench seat work.
No, the old S10s, like if you had a like a manual transmission, there's 2 bucket seats.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's 2 bucket seats with a manual with the shifter in the middle.
Yeah.
So if you got him one of those, like you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Right. You're teaching him how to drive manual.
Right.
And you're keeping him from getting somebody pregnant.
There you go. And it's like at that point, if they're willing to fuck in them uncomfortable seats, there's nothing you can do.
You were never going to stop it anyway. They might as well. He could have been driving a bicycle to school. It still happened.
Yeah. I remember we had a kid. I think he might have been a grade younger than us, or maybe a grade older than me. He drove a motorcycle to school.
Really? Cool guy.
That was fucking cool.
Yeah. You're fucking, no one's cooler than Motorcycle Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody. I don't care who you are.
He strutted into class, put his helmet on the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's cooler than that kid. And you want to be like, I know Motorcycle Kid. Other kid's like, no, you don't. Shut up.
Thinking back on it, it's probably just like a shitty like Honda Goldwing.
Yeah.
He probably bought it for like $200.
It's like a 250cc engine.
Yeah, he's like got it off of like Craigslist.
Yeah.
He had to give like a dude a blowjob in the back of like an alley.
Oh God. I feel like I knew a lot of kids who were into motocross in high school.
Yeah, that was a big scene.
That was the biggest I ever saw. It was definitely in high school.
Yeah.
With like the Fox racing and stuff like that.
That's a real particular type of kid.
It is. It's like a horse girl.
Yeah. It's sort of like a horse girl.
We had some horse girls.
Yeah.
The funny thing about horse girls is that they're always the same.
Yeah.
It's like
It's the same person.
It's like toxoplasmosis or something.
Right.
Like it just like infects their brain.
It's sort of like anything from Taco Bell. Right? It's like the outside might look different, but it's all made up of the same stuff.
It's all the same on the inside.
Right.
It's all beans, meat, and cheese.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, did you go get a chicken flatbread?
I haven't yet.
Oh, I don't know if they still have them. They had them for like a limited time thing. I think
it is what it is at this
point. You might have missed them.
The flatbreads were all right. they were pretty good for when they came out. But I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
I got the volcano menu.
The volcano menu. Yeah. I feel like I gorged enough on the volcano menu that I
can wait another 10 years.
I can wait another however long it'll be. Did you see, what was it that Chick-fil-A just came out with something? Not Chick-fil-A, KFC. The Thiccira, I think it's called. It's a chicken breast with pizza sauce and mozzarella cheese and pepperonis on top. So it's supposed to be like a chicken pizza.
Nice.
But, like, it's just...
See, I would like to enjoy KFC, but the one in town is so fucking bad that I refuse to go to it.
Yeah.
I have not been there in 18 years.
It's honestly soured every other KFC for me.
Right. I won't touch it. Yeah. I won't go over there.
Do you remember when they opened up the one in Douglasville? It was a buffet.
Yes.
And Dad was like, we got to go to the fucking KFC buffet.
Right.
We have to go check that out.
Well, they used to have one in Dallas, too.
Did they?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, they had one in Dallas. It was, like when you go past where the old barbecue place was, like if you're going down towards Hardy. You know where the Costco's at down there?
Yeah. Okay. I know exactly where you're talking about. Yeah.
At that red light, there's that Martin's up there on the right.
Yeah.
Right back behind the old barbecue place. You make a left and go down that road. Right. If you go down that road, there's a KFC on the right.
Yeah.
They had a buffet down there.
Yeah. That was interesting. No one else did that. Like KFC did
Pizza
a
Hut
buffet. Did Pizza Hut do a buffet?
They had a buffet.
I didn't think they did. Mm-hmm. I remember they had a salad bar because look, Pizza Hut used to be the place.
Right.
Like I remember when we got our Pizza Hut.
Right.
And everybody went to fucking Pizza Hut all the time.
Yeah, they had fucking Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. It was so interesting. I can remember the taste of it.
Right.
It was such a unique experience going to Pizza Hut. The little red glasses.
Yeah, they had a buffet there. That's why we went there, because they had the buffet.
That's so interesting. And then now it's just like a derelict. I don't know if that
now it's just
over
attached to the side of the fucking. You know where the food depot's at?
That's right.
In town.
That's
it's just
right.
attached to the
over
fucking
there in the
end
corner.
of the corner,
like a tumor growing off the side of Food Depot.
Well, it's sort of like the old McDonald's down there. They had a ball pit and a playground and a fucking merry-go-round that you could ride on. And now it's just this soulless fucking brick building.
Yep.
It's just.
Well, they moved away from. They didn't want their identity to be the kids' place, right? Because they wanted to be able to open it up to adults. They wanted to say, hey, adults eat here too, or whatever. That's why they got rid of the ball pit and the play thing. And you don't see the clown hardly anymore. You definitely don't see shit like Grimace and Hamburglar and
the Fry Guys.
The Fry Guys, or like whatever that bird thing was.
Yeah, what was
Remember
that?
the bird thing with pigtails and wear a purple dress?
Yeah.
Or is that a fever dream? That was a real thing,
that
wasn't
sounds
it?
real.
Yeah. That's not the same as all those other characters, right? Because we sell chicken nuggets. You're a chicken. Like, the Fry Guys are like aliens or something.
Right.
The Hamburglar, he's like a human person, and Ronald McDonald's is also like, he's a human. He's just dressed as a clown. What is Grimace?
A tumor?
What is he?
I don't know.
Big purple wedge?
Yeah, I don't know.
I wish I could have been in that pitch meeting when they were like, here are the characters for our fast food restaurant. A clown, a thief, a chicken, 2 aliens, and a purple wedge man.
It's like, it sounds good.
Sounds good. Let's make $1 billion.
You remember back in the day when McDonald's used to have, they had like the count on the thing where it told you how many they had served?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's too much now. They couldn't.
It was a big deal when they crossed over $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching the count would go up. Yeah.
They probably serve $1 billion a year now.
Yeah, probably. I remember the McDonald's in Douglasville when it first opened. It had a 2-story play place.
And it had a GameCube.
Was it GameCube? I thought it was Nintendo 64 it had. It might have been a GameCube.
I think it was a GameCube.
By the time they built it, it was probably a GameCube.
I think it was a GameCube. Yeah, you went to, that was, mwah.
That was the coolest fucking thing ever.
And they ripped all that shit out of there.
It's all gone now. That's crazy that they did such a heel turn away from that. Have you gone down 27 in Carrollton recently? There's a Burger King over there near where Cookout is and Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
And that's it. Mm-hmm. That Burger King has an enormous fucking play place. I
Really?
think most Burger Kings still have their play place.
No.
Probably on purpose. Because they're like, hey, you know, McDonald's got rid of their play place.
Yeah.
We still have a play place. Yes, the food's gross, but we still had the play place. But the one over there in Carrollton, I mean, it's like 3 stories.
Yeah.
It is. It's like a palace.
Yeah.
It's crazy looking.
Well, the one in town here is not. It's not that bad. Like I have taken Autumn up there before.
Yeah.
And been like, just go play.
I think Chick-fil-A still has.
Yeah, the one in town does.
Yeah, the one down here on this end too. Cause,
oh, really?
Yeah. Whenever on Valentine's Day, me and Mary always go eat Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And last time we were there last month, we noticed that they still had one.
Well, it's nice to like go. I can just take my kid up there, get him a fucking ice cream.
They're not gonna get hurt.
They're not gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, I can see them. They're right there.
Yeah.
And I can just hang out. I was like, I don't have to be like. There's especially with Chick-fil-A because they're encased in glass.
Yeah,
it's like, and I get to be out here.
Yeah,
away from all the screaming.
It. Yeah, it's just soundproof.
Yeah.
You remember being a kid and like, just like how big those things seemed?
Oh yeah,
those
massive.
play places. They seemed like they just seemed enormous. Like specifically, I thought about this when we went to Autumn's birthday party at the Jump place. We used to go to a place called Discovery Zone around here. Mom told me where it was. I couldn't remember.
It was over in Austell, wasn't it?
Was it in Austell?
Yeah.
It might have been. It was a place called Discovery Zone, and it was like in my head. I'm thinking like
Massive. A warehouse.
I'm thinking like the inside of a Walmart, completely stripped out, and the only thing that's inside of it is a play place.
Right.
Just from one end to the other, from floor to ceiling, the whole thing is a play place.
Right.
I'm sure that in reality, it wasn't that at all, but as a kid, that's what it seemed like to me. There was this one slide that was like several rollers.
Yeah.
I could never figure out how to get to it.
Yep.
Because it was so...
I found it one time.
Yeah. I found it once.
Yeah.
It was so labyrinthian.
Yeah.
That fucking thing. I remember I would stand on the outside and I would like study it.
Inspect.
Yeah. I was like, okay, if I come out there, I need to go through that, go through the pink thing, go up the purple ladder, and then I would get in it and be like, I'm fucking lost. It's all different colors in
I'm
here.
at the same fucking slide again.
Yeah. That would always drive me fucking crazy because I wanted more than anything to go down that rolly slide. And I couldn't do it.
And you couldn't go up it.
No, you couldn't go up it.
You couldn't go up it to back engineer it.
Yeah, I tried to.
Yeah.
Going up it wasn't going to happen.
No, you're just going to slide back down the fucking thing.
I remember it had that big, massive fucking ball pit.
Yeah.
Huge ball pit.
Huge.
Yeah.
And it had like the big, like, it wasn't like punching bags, but it was like the things you'd like hit and they'd swing back and forth.
Yeah, you like run through them.
I remember that. And I remember one time we had gone over to, it used to be over near Whitewater, but we didn't go to Whitewater. It was like a field trip that we went on.
It was like American Adventure or something like that? Yeah. I never went there, but I do know what it is.
They had the foam pit, or the foam place.
Foam Factory.
Foam Factory.
Yeah, I never got to go to Foam Factory.
Was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Because they had like these foam balls, thousands of them.
All over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah.
And there was like slingshots like attached to the thing.
They had like little guns that would shoot the foam balls.
That shoot the foam balls.
Yeah.
It was fucking cool.
Yeah, I never got to go.
You don't see shit like that anymore.
No. Well, you know, as a kid...
I mean, you might, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah. As a kid, I would have enjoyed like what Autumn had at her birthday party. I would have been all over that as a kid.
Oh, yeah. Trampoline park?
Yeah, that's like... In my head, like I had never been in there. When you said trampoline park, I was thinking literally just a whole bunch of trampolines.
No.
But it was lots of different types of things you can do. There was a lot of, it was like almost like little like Ninja Warrior type obstacle courses.
They had like a foam pit, you like jump in like the big airbag thing.
Yeah. They had the thing where like you were on like a balance beam and you had the little thing, the little like you're swinging it at the other kid trying to knock them
sticks,
off. Yeah.
And they had like the whole like obstacle course thing. They had all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have really loved that as a kid, too. It was funny. I got to thinking, I was like, you know, it's crazy to watch these kids just go and go and go and go and go and go. And I'm like, man, by about 1 o'clock, I want to just lay down and be at peace.
And I've been sitting all day.
Yeah, I'm tired from sitting all day long. Under these incandescent lights. Just the fucking...
This soul-crushing...
Just soul-crushing existence. Compressing the life out of me. And his little person runs up, do you want to play? And you just look up, you're like, cherish it. What was he said? And Billy Madison, he grabs that fat kid by the cheeks. Yeah. He's like, for the love of God, cherish it.
You want to talk about Super Cringe?
Oh, yeah.
Before we run out of time?
I forgot all about that, yeah.
So why don't you tell us about this week's selection?
Okay. I was there for it, man. I was there.
I experienced it.
I've got the 1,000-yard stare from YouTube Rewind 2018. So our Super Cringe Thursday pick for this week, of course, is the YouTube Rewind from 2018. So YouTube used to do this thing where at a certain time of year, they would compile all of like the best moments and like the most popular creators and yada 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 into this big video. Like, here's what was big on YouTube this year. They really missed the mark in 2018's version. It really came across like they did not know what the culture was of their platform. They had a lot of creators who were an odd mixture of creators. Like they had Marquez Brownlee, who's like he's kind of a niche guy.
Right.
He's a tech guy, a tech review guy.
It's like him and like...
That's like its own like sub thing going on on YouTube. But then you had like Ninja, who wasn't even on YouTube. He was a Twitch streamer.
Right.
That's a whole different platform. Why the fuck is he here?
They had like him, like Marksepticeye and...
Yeah. They had a bunch of like vloggers that fucking... Who watches vloggers? Not me, not I. But anyway, it was also Fortnite themed. They had all these people like on the Fortnite bus.
Like doing like the emotes.
Doing the emotes, yeah, dabbing.
Yeah.
Flossing. I'm not seeing enough movement. You remember him on New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing enough movement. He's out there flossing and nobody. No, they're being rained on. Who is this blue-haired fuck up here telling me to dance? But anyway, the thing starts out with Will Smith. And he goes, "Bah, it's rewind time." And they immediately cut from him to all the other shit going on in the Fortnite bus. So it was like this whiplash of moment. Like, whoa, wait a minute, what was Will Smith doing here? What's he got to do with fucking YouTube?
Right.
So they go through all this shit. All these people like, hey, remember this guy? Look at that guy. You've seen this guy before. They all jump out of the battle bus, and the whole thing is like they're trying to cut this through line of like. They're all on this island together.
Yeah, it was
all
odd.
The creators are on this island together. But then like they also had animators. But the animators were like their little animated characters.
No.
So they were like their own thing. I don't know. The whole thing is just really cringe because it's very clear that YouTube had no idea what the prevailing culture was.
Well, it was just tone deaf.
It was just tone deaf. Nobody fucking knew. The biggest issue that everybody had with it was that Pewdiepie was not included in it. PewDiePie and YouTube have had a very strained relationship.
Right.
When he moved away from doing shit like Amnesia gameplay into like commentary and stuff like that, he really started to make enemies.
Right.
Which is funny because he's come out of all that smelling like fucking roses.
Yeah.
He moved to Japan with his Italian model wife, and they have a baby, and they don't do anything except enjoy the Japanese countryside.
Right.
That's all they do all day long. He fucking won.
Yeah.
So
it's actually kind of interesting because if you think about it, as far as like commentary is like YouTube commentary is concerned, he kind of jump started it.
He really did.
I'm sure there were other people that were doing YouTube commentary.
Yeah, but he really kind of breathed life into it.
Right.
I think. I don't watch his stuff. But from what I have seen his stuff before, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's pretty good stuff.
Like he used to do like meme review. Like he had some stuff that like I'd be like, oh, okay, I like this series that
very
he
creative.
does. Yeah.
He did some very creative things. But I appreciate what he did, what he's done for YouTube,
right,
as a whole. Because YouTube, honestly, I mean, as much as they probably hate it, it wouldn't be what it is without him.
No, YouTube is forever attached
to PewDiePie.
To PewDiePie.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Right.
Being honest. So the funny thing is, like, they've released this YouTube Rewind. It was really fucking terrible. Everybody hated on it. It had something like 21 million dislikes to like 2 million likes.
No.
That's abysmal. It was
bad.
It was the worst like to dislike ratio ever.
And
on YouTube.
The funny thing is that I remember during that time, like I was still catching some of PewDiePie's videos.
Yeah.
And he did his own rewind.
Yep.
And it blew YouTube's rewind.
YouTube's out of the fucking water.
Out of the fucking water.
Yeah.
It was so funny because I think during that time it must have pissed him off.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I ever saw it on trending.
No.
They never put it on the trending page.
No. Which is interesting because they would have to step in manually and block that.
Right.
Because I would imagine a lot of that is algorithm based. If they see like something there's probably a lot of things that factor into it, right? Like with the date it's uploaded, how long it's been up, and how many views it's gained in that time.
Right.
That's probably a very simple automated process.
Yeah.
But they're like, okay, well, for this particular video, we're not gonna apply it. We're not gonna show it on the front
They would
page.
essentially have to go in and take it out of rotation.
Yeah, manually.
Yeah. Or flag it or something.
So they were definitely feeling some type of way about it. Yeah. You know, there was also a period of time there where YouTube was cracking down on gun tubers.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Hickok 45, who's like one of the
He's like the OG.
He's like one of like the one of the old guys. He's an old guy, but he's one of like the original dudes who did that shit, showing off guns on YouTube. They attacked his channel. Shortly after that, a gunman stormed the YouTube headquarters, and I don't know if anybody got killed, but it was like a big problem.
I think I remember that.
They shot up the place. Somebody shared this fake tweet from YouTube. It said, "We're sorry, Hickok. Please help." Oh man. Yeah, I mean, so many like. YouTube is an interesting thing specifically for like the kids now who grew up with it. Like I didn't really grow up with it. Like there was a thing that came along as I was already kind of older.
Right.
And when it first started off, it was very different from what it is today. But kids now are growing up with it. So they have a lot of these memories and a lot of these things that they associate with YouTube, which we didn't have. And a lot of that is with PewDiePie's things.
Right.
So there's a lot of like things like classic moments. Like when you think like, you know, think about things that were like classic moments in media from when we were kids, right? One thing that comes to mind is Ashley Simpson on her Saturday Night Live. She does her little jig, her little like, Irish jig thing, walks off stage, something like that. Yeah. Well, kids nowadays, they're having those moments, but it's shit with like YouTube, things that are online.
Right.
PewDiePie did, of course, have. He was no stranger to controversies.
Oh well,
and he had the big one.
Yeah, right? the big one,
like the controversy that you can't have. He was playing. He was
like some first-person shooter. He was like shooting somebody like on a bridge or something like that.
He was playing PUBG, I think it was, and he was shooting at a guy on a bridge or whatever. And he got mad and he said fucking N-word. Yeah. But he didn't say N-word. He said, you know, the whole thing. Yeah, and he immediately catches it. He's like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Yeah. And he keeps playing. And like, I wish that I had been in that stream when it was happening live, just so I could see chat fucking go insane.
It's funny because like you can still find the video, like the uncensored videos.
You can, yeah.
And he doesn't use the A.
The funny thing is, oh no, he hard-hard.
Yeah, he hard-harded.
He hard-harded real hard. The funny thing was, like, all like the gaming journalists and like
they had a fucking
all like left-wing media. The funny thing was, they dogpiled on him so hard that it seemed disingenuous.
Right.
Everybody immediately saw that. Okay, you're not upset that he said the N-word. You're just excited. You're excited that he said it.
Right.
So that you can
tear him down.
Tear him down. And he magically came out of that. Just fine.
They're all over here in the pile still, and he's like standing over to the side.
I said the fucking N-word.
Yeah.
With the hard R.
Yeah.
And I still won.
I think a lot of what helped him with that is that he's not American. Mm-hmm. He's Swedish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that sort of distances him.
Yeah, a little bit.
From probably what would have happened had he been American.
Yeah. Well, you know, he also at the time. Maybe this was a separate incident, but he had a contract with Maker Studios, which is like a conglomerate that kind of just gathers up all these big YouTubers.
Oh yeah,
as like a like a production agency or whatever.
Right.
They don't really do anything; they just take money from these guys. Right. Well, Disney owned Maker.
Really, I didn't know that.
Or they still own Maker. So, I think Maker, of course, they did Machinima. You remember Machinimas? Yeah, that was a whole different thing. But
oh, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, like Arby and the Chief, stuff like that. But so PewDiePie was working with them or for them, however you want to put it, and he was doing this thing on Fiverr this series he was doing on YouTube on Fiverr where he would send these people like in the Philippines like $5 to like do whatever. And one of the video submissions he received back from these people was a couple of dudes who were laughing, and they wrote out a banner that said "Gas the Jews" or something, or "Kill all the Jews" or something like that. And like, I think I might be wrong about this, but I think he was live streaming it, so that came up.
No.
And he was like, "Oh fuck, I didn't know they were going to do that."
Yeah.
Well, of course, he got in trouble for anti-Semitism, whatever, and like Disney, they cut him off or whatever, and it was the best thing that ever could have happened to him because all those other creators that were still under that umbrella, they kind of got fucked. No. And so once again, he comes out on top. Right.
Well,
they hate him because he keeps fucking winning?
Well, wasn't there was like a big controversy like when he was racing? What was it?
T-Series.
Yeah, T-Series.
Yeah.
He's raced them to like 100 million subscribers or something like that.
Yeah, 100 million, yeah.
And there was like there's people acting like assholes.
Of course.
As people will tend to do.
As they do.
And they try to pin it on him.
Right.
He's like, I never told anybody to do this.
Yeah. I didn't tell you to go attack anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then eventually he was like, just stop the whole thing. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, I keep getting attacked. He's like, I can't do this.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, like, he's one of those people who never really lost sight of what made him popular in the first place.
Right.
He continued to do what he wanted to do, and what he wanted to do was just make shit. Right. And that's all he ever did. And it took him very, very, very far. Like, I think he's got a net worth of like 300 million or something like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Off of fucking YouTube. I mean, every video that the dude posts gets 20 million views within the day. That's like 20, 30 grand, I'm pretty sure. A day.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, really the only thing comparable to it at this point is Mr. Beast.
That's true. Yeah.
But I think at this point, Mr. Beast has he's got more.
I think he's got more subscribers at this point too.
And like anytime, like I had never really watched a Mr. Beast video until like one popped up. I was like, I'll check this out. Yeah. And actually, it's not that bad. It's fairly
decent
interesting.
Content, yeah. I think that Mr. Beast himself, he immediately picked up on. He saw it for what it was. He saw, okay, I know exactly how to game the system. Right. But he does it in a way that comes across earnestly. Right.
He's like, I'm still trying to give you something.
I'm trying to entertain.
Right.
He's like, the goal is not to make money. The goal is to entertain. Right. He's like, but I do the stuff that makes the money so that I can entertain.
Right. It seems like he's constantly pouring back into the next video.
Yeah. I think he lives in like North Carolina somewhere or whatever. Yeah. And he originally was like, he's like, I did not want to live beyond my means. He was like, everything I made, I wanted to give back into the channel. Right. And he was like, and I ended up having to move into like a nicer neighborhood simply because people kept coming to my house. Right. And he was like, I can't have this. Right. I can't just have fucking folks showing up all the time.
Well, and it seems like he does a lot of like philanthropy work too. He does it through I think his other
he's got a bunch of different businesses and nonprofits that he runs.
But like one of the wildest things I saw was him like going and like building 100 wells like in the Congo or some shit like that, and then people got fucking pissed.
Yeah, they got so mad at it.
Yeah, because they're like, we
don't need a white savior.
We don't need a white savior and like all this bullshit. But it wasn't the people that he was helping that were saying this.
No, it was all the white people who sit on their asses in America.
It was all these fucking faux academics over here that love to run their fucking mouth.
Wouldn't lift a finger to dig a well for fucking anyone. Right. Yeah. Yeah, what was it they say? Pronouns detected, opinion rejected. I would imagine that people were very happy to receive clean drinking water.
Yeah, absolutely. I guarantee you those people that he probably built those wells for don't give a fuck what those people's opinions are of him.
Yeah. Or what color the skin was of the person who came and helped build the well. Yeah. I mean, there was like and I watched that video and he's talking to these people and they're explaining to him there was one village where these people had to walk like downhill and carry their buckets like it was some like arduous trek down this hill to this one rusty water spigot that was just dripping water, and that was where they got their water from. Like, they had to do that every other day, whatever, 3 days.
And I think in that video he talked about, he's like, we also need to plan for like future down the road, like maintenance. Like, how do we continue to make this a viable resource of water for these people?
Yeah. So it wasn't just optics. He actually went there and he helped people.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny that people get mad at him for helping.
Well, all it is just, it takes a mirror and it shows them, like, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, I'm doing something.
Right.
Yeah. I'm actually helping.
Right. People get real mad when you take a mirror and show them all their bullshit. Yeah. And then they lash out.
Like, you ever see those videos of, like, the bear walking past the mirror in the woods? And he like attacks the mirror. It's exactly what it is.
I always think of, like, the scene in The Fellowship of the Ring, where Frodo
where Bilbo, like, he goes,
sees the
the first time I saw that, it genuinely frightened me.
Well, that's the thing.
It's out of nowhere.
That jump scare does not belong in that movie.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't fit at all.
No.
So you don't see it coming.
Yeah. And, like, just the way that it's shot, like, just...
You got to know when they shot that, they're like, oh, yeah.
This is actually scary. Fuck. Like, they're editing. He's like, fuck. Scared me. And I'm editing the motherfucker. Well, anyway. I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. This is episode 97. Which means that there are 2 more episodes and then our live streamed episode for episode 100. I'm going to go over some of the logistics with Wesley here in a minute when we wrap up. So then on the next episode, we will give you a date and a time, and then we'll also make posts on the Facebook in the weeks leading up to it. I think what you can expect is maybe a little bit of downtime in between 99 and 100 while we get everything together and set it up and going. So we'll try not to make it egregious. Like, you're not going to have to wait 3 months for the thing, but maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks at most.
Yeah. Maybe we can do like a best of or something.
Yeah, we'll
like a compilation.
We'll post something,
podcast or something
to fill the gap. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. So next episode we'll have you a date, time, yada yada, and you'll know exactly when to tune in. It's going to be on YouTube, but we'll post the link. Right now, the YouTube page itself is privated because I'm still uploading all the videos. So once that is ready to go, I'll post the link to the YouTube page so you can go and subscribe, and then we'll also post the link for the live stream once that's set up and going. So yeah, I think that's all I've got. Do you have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope. Just as always, thank you so much for the continued support. We really do appreciate it. Like Gary said, if there's anything that we said that we were wrong about, or you have a correction that you'd like to make, always feel free to let us know. The email is in the show notes, and you can find that in whatever podcast platform that you're listening to. Again, as always, if we are not on your favorite podcast platform, let us know. We'll do our best to get there. I think right now we're pretty much everywhere that podcasts can be found. But as always, just thank you so much for the continued support, and we really do appreciate it.
On that note, Steven messaged me. He said that he used to use Google Podcasts to listen to us. Mm-hmm. He said as of last month, that was absorbed into YouTube Music under the new podcast tab. So YouTube Music is a whole other app.
Yeah.
And they have a podcast tab. So I guess Google Podcasts got absorbed into that, which makes sense. I think Google owns YouTube,
yeah, I think it's part of Alphabet.
Yeah. So interesting. I thought that was interesting.
So I wonder if that'll do anything as far as the YouTube channel.
I don't think so. I think that when we upload to Buzzsprout, what they send out is an RSS feed back to where that file's being hosted, which of course is Buzzsprout. On YouTube, it's a whole other thing. I'm actually uploading a video file.
That's true.
That is,
I was just thinking since it is YouTube, I wonder if there's integration between the two systems.
I don't know. Maybe I haven't really messed with it.
I'd have to look and see.
Yeah. But anyway, well, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.